and for the people, by the people, for the people, so you should listen to the people.
These are people that are committed to fighting for their fellow citizens.
They're hurting families, they're hurting kids.
Parents of children with autism, teachers, Indigenous communities, hundreds gather in protest outside the PC convention in Niagara Falls today, calling out the Ontario government. The majority of protesters came from the province's labor groups, holding one massive demonstration against cuts and inaction. Angelina King is live at the Scotiabank Convention Centre in Niagara Falls tonight, where the convention is taking place. Angelina, quite the scene there earlier today.
It definitely was. The roads were blocked off. There were buses. There was a stage as hundreds of Ontario PC members met inside. There was thousands of people out here protesting, groups representing education workers, healthcare workers, autism advocates, anybody opposed to the Doug Ford government. And it's a pretty common scene in Ontario, people on the streets protesting the cuts first announced in the spring budget after the Ford government took office back in 2018. Cuts to things like education, healthcare, legal aid, autism services, the list goes on. There was some pretty fierce criticism back then. It still is here today. So the government did reverse some of those cuts, but there's still a lot on the table, and a lot of people are still angry.
It is the policies of the Conservative Party and Doug Ford that are taking our province in the wrong direction. It's why so many people are here from across the province to say we are done with cuts. We need investment in our public services. We need rights for workers. We need good jobs in Ontario. That's the direction we need for our province.
The Ontario Federation of Labour organized today's protest. It also organized about 70 buses to bring people from across the province here to Niagara Falls, where the convention is taking place. So it's really a time for the party to gather together to figure out the best way to pitch to the public in hopes of re-election in 2022. So it's a pretty grassroots process. People are meeting behind closed doors, coming up with policies, initiatives for what they want the platform to look like. Now, there has been some criticism about just how secretive and a lot of the security involved in this convention. Media, for example, are not allowed to film anything inside. It's pretty much closed off to us. This is why I'm speaking with you out here. When we are inside, and if we're not in the media room, they're pretty particular about where we are in terms of roaming the halls. We were able to film an interview inside when MPP Paul Calandra addressed the media. Here's what he had to say about that criticism.
Well, these are party discussions with respect to the policies and priorities of the government, or that the party will bring forward in the next campaign. So I'm sure you can appreciate that as we develop those policies and platform ideas for the next campaign, that our members, our grassroots members, would like to have that opportunity to have those discussions in private.
Now, the other thing we are allowed to film inside is Premier Doug Ford's keynote address. He will be addressing his party in about half an hour. Maribel?
All right, thanks so much for this, Angelina. And we want to bring you an update on something that happened at the convention yesterday. Our reporter, Mike Crawley, was doing a live report just outside the convention center when security stepped in.
Being at the negotiating table.
Sorry, you gotta go, you can't be here.
Excuse me.
You can't go. You gotta be
Sorry,
here.
I'm on. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Vashi. There's a security trying to stop us from doing this report, kind of thing. Themselves two Ontarians.
The security guard blocked our camera for a few minutes before being pulled away.
Somebody from the party has actually got the security.
And today, our reporter received a message from Viking Security, the company involved. They said, "We were instructed by the PC party to remove the media from the property. We did not create the no media rule, nor did we act on our own accord." They went on to say Crawley was unfortunately standing on private property at the time, and when that happens, we follow clear instructions that are laid out by clients and are in line with the law, which is what we did and have always done. The PC party responded to the incident today.
Mike, I just wanted to again express our apologies for what happened yesterday. As you know, it wasn't something that the PC party had actually asked to be done. We understand, and I've said this on a number of occasions, understand how important it is that the media have access to us. You have a job to do, and we appreciate that.
Another update on the teachers' strikes to tell you about. The Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association says it is suspending a series of rotating strikes planned for next week. They will be heading back to the bargaining table with the province on Monday. And according to the mediator, the union has been assured that, quote, the discussions will be meaningful. Well, more than 1,000 people gathered in Toronto today to show their support for the Wet'suwet'en Nation's fight against the Coastal GasLink project. It is the latest in a series of demonstrations protesting the pipeline. Natalie Nanowski has the details.
On the front lawn of Queen's Park, drummers and dancers, Indigenous and non-Indigenous people alike, gathered with one message.
We are standing in solidarity with our brothers and sisters across Canada, and it's important that they just know that they have support and love from their community.
The event opened with a prayer and a reminder of the stance Indigenous leaders in BC have taken against the installation of a natural gas pipeline.
Wet'suwet'en land is unceded. It doesn't belong to Canada. So why do the RCMP feel like they have the right to do this when the hereditary chiefs have said no?
The gathering comes as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called on protesters across the country to remove blockades that have crippled Canada's railway system.
So Trudeau needs to be listening because, you know, if they're urging people to go down and break down these blockades and railways, I can tell you that they're going to be sprouting up across this nation. And this whole economic crisis that they're blaming on us as Indigenous people, it's about time that Canadians hear our voice.
This is one of several actions that have taken place in the city over the course of the last month. Today, after a few hours at Queen's Park, supporters marched through Toronto, ending the movement at City Hall, where strangers joined hands in a giant round dance. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Blockades are continuing to disrupt train services across the country, and that is despite the Prime Minister's call for them to end. And Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs are continuing to tour Mohawk communities involved in those blockades in the east. The chiefs are visiting Mohawk leaders in Kahnawake, just south of Montreal today. Quebec's premier says his government will not dismantle that blockade because it is on Mohawk territory. Protesters peacefully abandoned another blockade in the province last night after being served an injunction. Mohawk leaders at Kahnawake say they will only end the blockade if the demands of the Wet'suwet'en chiefs are met. And a similar story in Belleville today as Tyendinaga Mohawk protesters continue to block a major railway there. The hereditary chiefs made a visit to the blockade yesterday to thank them for their support. The protesters have been in that spot for about 2 weeks, resulting in major problems for the Canadian rail industry. Concern is growing over new coronavirus outbreaks outside China. Several countries are trying to contain the virus within their borders. Magda Gabriselase has the story.
More signs today that the coronavirus is spreading outside of China. Iran is now reporting its 6th death and 10 new confirmed cases of the virus. Meanwhile, in South Korea, a surge of new coronavirus cases were reported Saturday. The Prime Minister is urging people not to be overly afraid as the number doubled to 433. The majority of the cases tied to this church. Officials say more than 1,000 people who attended are reporting flu-like symptoms. Italy, too, is trying to contain a cluster of cases in the northern region of Lombardy, where there are now 39 cases and 2 confirmed deaths. Residents are being told to stay indoors. This man said he welcomed the closure of public buildings to keep the virus at bay. While the epicenter of this virus is China, concern is spreading as cases have now been found in more than 30 countries.
Our window of opportunity is narrowing. I would put it that way, narrowing.
During an update on Friday, the Director General of the World Health Organization said new cases in other parts of the world not linked with Wuhan or China were especially worrisome.
We still have a chance to contain it. But while doing that, we have to prepare at the same time for any eventualities, because this outbreak could go any direction.
Here in Canada, an update on the Canadians that had been aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship that was quarantined off the coast of Japan. The 129 Canadians who landed here on Friday remain under quarantine in Ontario. Today, the Public Health Agency of Canada says a passenger who had reported feeling unwell has tested negative for the illness. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
A man has been arrested after a woman was shot dead in Scarborough last night. It happened near Shepherd Avenue and McCowan Road at around 7 o'clock. Officers were called to the scene after a woman was found lying on the ground, suffering from at least one gunshot wound. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Police have not identified the victim or the suspect, but say they are not looking for anyone else. Getting around the city is a bit more challenging this weekend for TTC commuters. Line 1 between Bloor-Yonge and Osgood is shut down today for the TTC to install its automatic train control system. The closures will continue tomorrow with no service from Shepherd, Yonge and St. Clair stations due to the track work. Shuttle buses will be brought in. The stations will also remain open for access to surface routes and Line 4. Meanwhile, drivers may have noticed some delays on the roads today. Crews took advantage of the warmer weather to repair thousands of potholes across the city, including ones on the Gardiner Expressway and the DVP. This is the city's second pothole blitz of the year. Almost 30,000 potholes have been filled so far this winter. You are looking live, that's right, live at the Toronto skyline. The sun seems to still be out, a beautiful day out there today, feeling much more like spring than midwinter. And it seems like the good news will continue. But for confirmation, let's check in with Christina on that. Boy, more of today if that's in store.
Absolutely, Marvel. I've got some great news because we are looking at this beautiful sunshine and mild temperatures throughout the weekend up until Monday for the Greater Toronto Area. Our Saturday overnight, we're right at 0. We'll feel like -5 with a little bit of a wind chill. Our Sunday afternoon, 8 degrees, will feel like 5. Now, if you're thinking we're breaking some records, we're actually not. For us to break those records in the Greater Toronto Area, we need to be right at just shy of 12 for Saturday and shy of 18 for your Sunday. Now, like I mentioned, we're going to have a beautiful Saturday overnight into your Sunday and into your Monday. But look what happens here, because into our Monday overnight to our pre-dawn Tuesday, this low pressure system comes in and we are getting our next little bit of activity. Our next system comes in. We've got some cold temperatures behind that. So Wednesday, Thursday, we are looking at some activity. Here is your 7 days for Toronto. Like I mentioned, Sunday and Monday, beautiful sunshine and above seasonal temperatures. Here comes in that next system, Monday overnight into your Tuesday, then the following system for your Wednesday into your Thursday, but your Friday, we're looking at some sun and cloud. Toronto, Hamilton, Barrie, and Oshawa, same thing here, Sunday through your Monday, beautiful. Then we're looking at that precipitation for Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, we'll check back with you for the long range. Thanks, Christina.
Wonderful, thank you.
Democrats across the United States have their eyes on the state of Nevada today. 7 presidential candidates are competing in Nevada caucuses, but polls show there is a clear frontrunner in the race.
Can't see all of you, but I can hear you.
It's a tight race for second place, though, with Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Tom Steyer, and Amy Klobuchar all vying for that spot. Mike Bloomberg is not on the ballot in Nevada. 75,000 residents have already participated in early voting so far. Coming up, some exciting news for Friends fans. The cast will be reuniting for a special this spring. More on what's expected and how much it'll cost next. We're learning today the cast of Friends will get back together for an exclusive special. The series originally aired between 1994 and 2004. Yelena Adzik explores what we can expect after all that time.
The Friends reunion might end up just being a tribute to old haircuts and old jokes, but still, could you be any more excited? No, it feels big because fans have wanted this to happen for so long. In celebration of the show's 25th anniversary, the original cast members posted this pic on social media saying it's happening on the streaming service HBO Max. But what exactly is happening, considering the producers keep calling it an unscripted and untitled special?
When we found out that we were going to get this baby, Chandler and I started talking, and we decided that we didn't want to raise a kid in the city.
What people online seem to be hoping for is to see their favorite old characters together again.
Shouldn't we all vote on stuff like this?
Adulting is just so hard, but it's easier when you're paid well. Reports have it that the cast all negotiated together to be paid between $2.5 to $3 million each for the special. So it's hard to imagine that they'll get paid that much just to sit around a table and reminisce, but we do know the cast and crew has steadfastly refused to resurrect the old tropes, which, let's face it, could be a challenge considering how much television has since moved the needle when it comes to fast-paced humor, diversity, and sophistication. Even the actors themselves have all gone on to star in elevated productions, often appearing in cameos as support. Here, Jennifer Aniston ups up the sass with a stint on Courtney Cox's show, Cougar Town.
Last Christmas, I set my car on fire, so my dad would think I was dead.
Now, these two, along with the rest of the cast, all went on to have successful solo projects. So they didn't have to turn to a reunion for work. Not to mention how crazy lucrative are the resale rights to the old series. HBO Max now gets to stream the vintage episodes and the upcoming special after paying $425 million for the back catalog. And that's just for the rights for the next 5 years. In other words, this touted Friends reunion special is very special indeed for promotion. Yelena Adzik, CBC News, Toronto.
Hidden is a new photo exhibit in Mississauga. It features the experiences of young people caring for family members who are sick or disabled. The exhibit started in England by Elton John's photographer, Max Alexander. He was a young caregiver himself for his mother with schizophrenia. Alexander worked with the Young Carers program at Hospice Toronto to photograph some of them. Host of Fresh Air, Nanaba Duncan, spoke to one of the young people featured in the project.
In 2011, my mom was diagnosed with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. It's like a neurodegenerative disorder. So when she got diagnosed, she was at the point where she was limping already. But it slowly progresses to the point where you can't move at all.
What did you have to do to help your mom?
So at that point where she was still limping, like she was still okay to do some of her own stuff. At that point, I'd just take care of myself. Like if it was food, I'd get it myself, etc., etc. But at that point where she couldn't help herself anymore, like get her own food, that was my job, or like water, get her water. And then it got to the point where she couldn't really move in bed anymore, so I'd have to flip her around, help her with that, help her get to the bathroom, things like that. I don't think any mother wants to see their own child take care of them, you know, even especially at the age I was at, like 12 years old. She didn't want me to take care of her, but at that point, like, she didn't really have a choice.
What was the toughest part for you?
I think just processing the fact that she was diagnosed with ALS, and just because at that point she was still using her walker, she was able to get around without like a lot of help, but it was just, I guess, the mental aspect with, you know, coming to terms with her diagnosis.
You got support from the Young Carers program. How did they actually help you?
It was just such a new idea to me, like a young carer. Like I've never heard of that term 3 years into being a young carer and taking care of my mom. So it was like totally life-changing seeing different kids going through the same thing I was going through. So yeah, it was just a great experience.
And this exhibit here is putting a spotlight on hidden carers, people who maybe others wouldn't think of as caring for their parents and siblings. Why do you think this is important?
I think it's important for kids to be able to say, I'm a young carer, and everyone to understand like what they're going through. For example, like when I was in school, like I couldn't really just say like, oh, I'm a young carer, this is why this is late, or this is why I couldn't put like my best into this work. Or if a teacher asks me about my mom or how she's doing, like I can't just say, oh, I'm a young carer, she's actually sick. Like I think all kids or all young carers in Canada should have the ability to say I'm a young carer, and everyone should know what that means. So this is just such a big impact or project for people to start getting awareness on what it is. So like when they do hear the term young care, they know what it is and they know what that child or what that care is going through.
Hidden is now on at the Living Arts Centre in Mississauga, and you can see it until March 22nd. A special event at the Bentway today celebrating figure skating. We'll take you there next. Christina is back with our forecast. It sounds like the best is yet to come this weekend.
Absolutely, Maribel, for the next few days, but you know, it's always the calm before our next system. So we are looking at some beautiful weather in the Greater Toronto area, mild temperatures and sunshine. Great time for you to get out there and enjoy some of that, peaking at 8 and even 9 degrees here tomorrow, Sunday, in the Greater Toronto area. But like I mentioned, the calm before the next system. We are going to be experiencing some beautiful weather for Sunday, even into your Monday, beautiful Monday, your first day back at work. However, Monday evening, we are looking at that system come in. Here's what's happening. We're experiencing a low system that's going to be coming in through your Monday night to your Tuesday. Now, that's going to bring us a mix of rain and snow. However, come Wednesday, check this out. This is another system. Now, this is going to have some cold air on the back end there and a little bit of snow. So that's going to be a little bit more of a bigger story for your Wednesday. Are you sick of the snow and the rain? Well, check this out. Our total rainfall in Toronto is way above climate norm. And with regards to the snow, well, it's just a little bit above climate norm. But like I mentioned, this is your taste of spring, but we are going to be getting colder throughout the week. Here are your next 3 days. Toronto, Hamilton, Barrie, and Oshawa. Sunshine, like I mentioned, and great weather for your Sunday, Monday. Next system coming in for your Tuesday and Wednesday. Kitchener, Burlington, Markham, and Pickering, you're going to be experiencing the same thing, for the next few days before that next system comes in for your Tuesday and your Wednesday. More severe system, like I mentioned, it will be your Wednesday. Enjoy the weather for the next couple days.
That's right. And reminder, it is still February in Canada.
Yeah, so this is all great news.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, fans had the chance to hang out with their favorite Canadian figure skaters at the Bentway this afternoon.
Skaters that will represent in Canada at Worlds are all coming out for a Q&A. And you're lucky to see all these talented people we call friends.
Figure skating champs Asher Hill and Andrew Poje hosted the event. Those in attendance got the chance to skate alongside the pros and see a few tricks. CBC Sports helped to organize the event as a lead up to the World Figure Skating Championships in Montreal next month. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, everyone.